The India growth story is alive and kicking. India's economy beat expectations to grow at 66.1. I repeat that. India grew at 6.1% between January and March 2023. Now, that's not all. The government now estimates that the economy grew at 7.2% between April 2022 and March of 2023. The financial year 23 data will be music to the ears of India's policymakers, who have been promoting India as a bright spot in an otherwise gloomy economy. The latest data released by India's Statistics Ministry beat the estimates made by India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, which had predicted 5.1% growth in the first 3 months of 2023. However, given the economic uptick in the last 6 months of the last fiscal, the RBI had all the reasons to believe that the overall growth rate would exceed 7% in 2022-23. All right, for more on this, we are being joined by Siddharth Sanyal, who is a chief economist and head of research at Bandhan Bank and a former economist at the Reserve Bank of India. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
My pleasure.
Mr. Sanyal, the RBI said that India's growth momentum is likely to be sustained in 2023-24. How do you see India's growth coming along, and which sectors are in highest demand?
Well, there had been very clearly this particular print had been a little bit of an upside surprise, and that's why a positive surprise and a very welcome development. Also, if you see the indication, as you were rightly saying, going ahead, the RBI has a formal projection of 6.5% of GDP growth in the current fiscal year, which is FY24. But of late, there had been communication and guidance on the part of the RBI Supremo that they see a possibility of eventually this particular number is also going higher. I think what is very important is that, and in that particular context, if I try to see the major drivers of growth in case of India, the biggest driver always is the private consumption expenditure. And that particular factor, what we get to see, the consumer confidence part, has come back to the pre-COVID levels. It's not extremely strong, much higher than the pre-COVID level, no. But it has come back to the pre-COVID level, and that's why that can be some kind of a support for overall GDP momentum going ahead. And also, as we can see today, there had been quite a bit of support from a lot of investment projects, a little bit from private sector, but also from a lot of government infra push. So overall, these two factors possibly will continue to support a lot of, provide a lot of support for growth in the current fiscal year also. What could have been another source of momentum is exports. But right, on the exports, given the global uncertainty, we might have to keep our fingers crossed and would have to rely more on domestic factors.
So if you were to just take it forward from the exports, now India's defense exports have grown 23 times since 2014. Now, how much is that a factor in the current growth rate that we're seeing?
Well, that in the recent past, there had been a few factors, which is very encouraging to be honest. You mentioned about the defense exports. I think it's slightly a broader basket which continues to do very well. One is the defense exports, of course. There are some of the other engineering exports where India has actually started doing very well over the course of the last few years. Also, the petrochem related exports, these particular factors continue to provide quite a bit of support. So even if the global GDP doesn't remain extremely good and face uncertainty, some of these exports might still continue, as you rightly said, defense or a little bit of engineering exports, as well as petrochem. Their demands are not that volatile. So overall, even on the export side, there are certain pockets, even if overall exports are not superbly strong, there are certain pockets which still look brighter spots even within the export basket.
Thank you so much for all your inputs, sir. That was Mr. Siddharth Sanyal joining us from Mumbai.